Hello, my name's John Johnson.
And I'm Stevenson.
And welcome to the State of the BeanStalk, a show after dark much like porn, but with a much better storyline.
And within this show, we will be talking about the latest and greatest in entertainment, TV, and video games.
And news, of course, because there's a lot of things happening in the news that we can discuss. Specifically, if you haven't been living under a rock, a little bit of piece of news that has been floating around and actually being marketed a lot has been
the new Star Wars movie, and that is The Force Awakens. It is the 7th episode in the franchise. Isn't that right, John Johnson?
That's right, and Disney did end up buying the rights from George Lucas for $4 billion. The movie is expected to make around $1 billion, and what we're gonna do in this episode, this special episode, is actually go through the movie and talk about the plot, talk about some of the effects, the fight scenes, because obviously there's gonna be fight scenes in it. Isn't that right, Steve?
Absolutely. We're gonna break it down for you, but first of all, a message from our sponsors.
To create something that is genuinely great is to act like you started again. And I think with great intent, you discover people are sheep. From the very beginning, the device was designed to be exactly the same, but also remarkably different, along with the experience of actually using it. What makes it so unique is that it feels great and right and familiar in your hand. The materials it has been made with, the remarkable precision in which the color has been sprayed on was everything that was missing. There is an inherent loss with reduction in quality of production and size. We began with a design that we loved to build it and implement it. We had to look way beyond what we know is possible. It took all of our learning, our best thinking, to realize something so simple, so clear, and yet so truly ordinary. The iBanana is the next generation of fruit devices.
Welcome back, and thank you Ivan Ivanovsky for that lovely message. I'm definitely looking forward to using the new iBanana.
Yeah, I don't know about you, John Johnson, but I just can't wait to get my hands on that product.
And you know what, let's start off with literally just a discussion about Star Wars and initially what the past episodes have been about. Yeah. So where should we start? This is one of those things that people always discuss. Is it 1, 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6? Let's start off with that. What do you think would be the first one to go?
Absolutely, and most importantly, guys, spoiler warning, there's going to be a lot of that coming ahead. What I want to say is the breakdown of the episodes. Okay, 1 to 6. So, first of all, we start off with the whole story of Anakin growing up, his two masters, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, him teaching him, obviously falling to the dark side by the dastardly hands of Chancellor Palpatine. Isn't that right, John Johnson?
That's correct. Now, Palpatine, at first, we don't really see his evil side because he was helping the princess. The queen.
Yeah, very devious indeed. Sinister. And I mean, that's what they've laid out well in the first 3 episodes, even though we know that they aren't as great as the original due to the overuse of CGI and whatnot.
I did feel it was very colourful, and I have to admit that is a stark difference between the movies, the colour.
Yes, absolutely. It was extremely vibrant, it was just, I felt it was kid-friendly, obviously with adding like Jar Jar Binks into the mix, which we absolutely hate, and thank God that they haven't brought him back into episode 7. It was one of the major questions that was asked to the directors. Will there be a Jar Jar Binks? And they've answered our prayers by saying no.
Now, the thing with those 3 movies, I suppose, is they really laid out and also spoiled what 4, 5, and 6 had. Because the story of 4, 5, and 6, as I hope all of you know, is that, Darth Vader is Luke's father. But when you're watching 4, 5, and 6, you don't actually know this at all. And, of course, the first ones came out 4, 5, and 6. So I guess the question becomes, if somebody hasn't seen Star Wars, what would you say would be the... do they watch 1, 2, 3? or 4, 5, and 6 first?
Okay, so personally, myself or Steve, I would say, you know what? Let's start it off with episode 1. And I know you're gonna say, well, you know, Stevenson, the first trilogy, 4, 5, and 6 was a masterpiece. Just pretend that 1, 2, and 3 does not exist. But for the sake of the storyline, and I know they did some things good, you know, with just us understanding how Darth Vader, where he came from, and you know why he is Darth Vader to this day, I would recommend doing that 1 to 6 to get you prepared for 7.
To get us prepared for 7, you say, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve, sorry, Steve.
That is, yes, you
Look,
are John.
I am John. Look, I don't know about it. I would have to say 4, 5, and 6. The reason being is because it came up first, and then you're able to hate 1, 2, and 3 because you saw 4, 5, and 6 first. Because if you see 1, 2, and 3, you'll be like, oh, that was okay, and then you'll be blown away by 4, 5, and 6. But if you see 4, 5, and 6, you'll see how much of a letdown 1, 2, 3 was. And those people back in the day, you know, a couple of years ago, when we watched 4, 5, and 6, and then we saw 1, 2, 3, we would have been like, yeah, this is pretty crap. This is pretty rubbish compared to the other ones. And then we experienced the way it was created. But I guess not the way it was meant. Let's talk about number 7, because I think that's probably the biggest and most important topic really of the day, and I'm sure there's so many reviews out there in other channels and other folks talking about it, doing an honest to God review. But let's discuss it. Let's really go into the depth of watching that movie. We've only seen it once, so I guess, you know, somebody can go watch it 3 or 4 times and get, you know, more things out of it. But as a one-time viewer, let's talk about it. Let's start off with the main characters on the light side.
Absolutely. So the main characters on the light side, so we've got Rey, we've got Paul, we got Finn, we got the cute little robot, also known as BB-8. I mean, we've got the old school characters such as Leia and Han Solo. Those are the, you know, the major characters that
Luke and Chewie.
capture. I mean, there's Luke and Chewie as well, but Luke, let's be honest, I mean, we only see like 10 seconds of him at the very end of the...
So I suppose, yeah, 10 seconds of Luke is a bit, you know, but he's gonna be in the, you know, in the following movies a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, those are our expectations from the way that the movie has ended. So, now stepping into the dark side,
we've got Kylo Ren, which is known as Ben from his birth name, because if you watch it, he is Han's and Leia's son, and which was a bit surprising to me because I you know, Han and Leia, they weren't together. He just left. She just left. Obviously, they were having some sort of relationship trouble, or, you know, I don't think they got married. Obviously.
Yeah.
She kept her last name.
Potentially, you know, the fault of the whole root and boot system. I believe, you know, she may have been pregnant, and I think that's how it ended up. And, you know, in the intergalactic universe, I think you're still liable for paying child support. So I think that's what
You think Han Solo, a swindler who swindles gangs like those 2 gangs, is going to pay child support?
Yeah, I just believe the advanced system of the galaxy, you know, Star Wars, there was nowhere for him to hide, really.
That's right. I mean, here comes knocking, the taxman. Now, I gotta say, what would Chewie think about this? This whole relationship trouble. I wonder if he stepped in and go, and then Han would have been like, no, Chewie, she's being a bitch.
Yes, and I also think that Chewie was too busy trying out the new hair products. Why he looks so fabulous in the 7th episode.
He doesn't age. No, great. They would have at least put some grey hairs into him and said, yeah, okay, it's been, you know, 13 years or 30 years in the actual storyline of it.
Yeah.
Put some grey hairs in the beast. I mean, come on, it's not that hard.
Yeah. In fact, it's like he's taken a time machine and gone back in time.
Alright, let's talk about Finn. Finn is a stormtrooper that has really become the center. And, you know, in the trailers he had the lightsaber, and I thought, oh, so maybe he's a stormtrooper and the Force, you know, got into him, and maybe he becomes a Jedi. But that's actually not true. It's going to be Rey that's going to be the Jedi, which was a bit surprising, obviously, from the trailers, and then watching the movie was completely different. I mean, what do you think of that? How come they decided to go with a female Jedi this time? Because that is the ultimate change, you know? That is the big change. They went with a female protagonist, really.
Look, and I think that's one of the many changes that they've implemented in the new movies, which is great. You know, they're keeping it fresh with the fact that, you know, they have a female Jedi, they've got a stormtrooper gone good, Finn, you know, in between his asthma attacks, I think there's a bit of character development.
He was huffing and puffing like a dragon from a storyline that should have been Lord of the Rings, to be honest.
What I found really unique about the new Star Wars movies is how PC they were about it. You know, how they had like a multitude of human races in the movies. We're talking Oriental, Caucasian, and African. But at the same time, you know, they had the equality of sexes in the light side and in the dark side.
That's true. I did notice that in the ship, or rather that destroyer planet they had a lot of females being, you know, the controllers of the things, which was a lot different than the other movies where they had just pure men getting choked out by Darth Vader, if you're into that. Now, I guess the next character is Rey. Rey, I really liked her. She was great from the start. She wasn't whiny, she wasn't annoying. I really did enjoy watching her, and she was a great choice as an actress. And I have not seen her before. New actors, new actresses.
Yeah, look, that's a good point. And I guess, you know, the dead giveaway being when she first finds the lightsaber, or really the lightsaber draws her
to the box.
To the box. And then she has all these flashbacks, and we get an understanding, well, hold on, you know, those images look like she was abandoned there by Luke Skywalker on the planet Jakar.
So let's talk about the plot. The first scene is, it actually took me by surprise because I expected something like dun 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 dun, epic, you know, or even the first battleship, you know, how in all the other movies. I guess that's a good difference.
Yeah.
We go to a small village, very untechnological,
low-key. Yeah.
Very low key, and we see that there is an unknown man. He does get killed, so we don't really get explained who he was, but he does hand a little map, which we know it's a map after the fact, but a little USB stick, I would call it, really. And he hands it to Paul, which we don't know who he is, but he looks oddly familiar. Yep. I actually thought that was Han's son at first, because he had that jacket and he had that sort of bravado look on him that I thought he was that was Han Solo's son. Obviously that, you know, that's not true, but yeah, that's a new character introduction. And I guess for people sitting at home, following at home, you might not know this, but there is going to be a TV show based on the fighter jets, the X-Wings. Yeah. It's going to be called something Squadron X or something like that.
Yep. You know, the first scene, we get a bit of an introduction of Paul, like John Johnson just mentioned, and most importantly, the big baddie of the 7th installment, that being Kylo Ren.
With his birth name being Ben, because he is Han Solo's son. Jeez.
I know, big spoiler right there. The mystery surrounding the character is, you know, it's what's exciting at the very start, and what's unique about it is that they don't leave it till further down the line or further down the movie. We get to find out rather quickly
who he is.
You know, who most of the characters really are, which is surprising for Star Wars, as the previous movies were, you know, they left it till the very end of the trilogy to really. Oh no, it was midway.
That's right. I was really surprised when Ben or Kylo Ren took off his helmet so quickly. Yeah. Oh, I'm talking to a faceless man. He just takes it off. I love that. That was great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, as we move on with the plot, we realize that the stormtrooper helps Paul out and gets him off the ship. And then we get into the story where they meet the girl. So I can see where this is rolling. It's rolling along just like BB-8. Yeah. We see it go into those two are now going to try and get BB-8 to the next planet. But what got me by surprise is the way they discovered the Millennium Falcon, which is, you're watching this for the spoiler, obviously because the spoilers are here and you've seen the movie, but it was an amazing scene when they got into that Millennium Falcon. I was sort of expecting to Han and Chewie being asleep in the back somewhere, and they're like flying, and they all wake up and they're like, "What's going on? What are you doing with my ship?" But no, even completely different. So.
Yeah, but that was never the case. You see, it was a very high intense scene where the two main characters being Rey and Finn, who were really running away from the First Order, and you know, their expectations were to get the best possible ship to get them out of that situation, but instead they got the crappy hunk of junk Millennium Falcon, which to us old fans is spectacular.
That's
but
right.
to the newbies, you know, that was just old technology. It was just no longer feasible.
And I guess what I enjoyed in the Millennium Falcon scene is the banter between Ren, BB-8, and Finn, because that was very cleverly done. You know, a little thumbs up with the gas
With the lighter, gas lighter.
That was
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's comical, to say the least.
Yeah, Star Wars bringing some comic relief back into it. So, you know,
Without the use of a silly Jar Jar.
Yeah, exactly, and that is the one thing I suppose we can all say that 1, 2, and 3 was missing, that humor, that sort of Star Warsy thing. But would you say 4, 5, and 6 had that humor? I don't think it did.
Yeah, look, I don't think it did either. I don't think it felt like it was child friendly at the time. It was rather morbid.
Yeah, morbid.
Yeah.
I have to point out that Hollywood has lately been making movies that are very sort of, they have those little clever witty bits. Think Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Think Marvel. All the Marvel movies have very serious. A lot of people are dying. People are killing. Billions of people must have died when the Marvel universe got attacked. But they have that humor in between the characters, and I think Star Wars really did well, and they had to do it because it's a new generation of films.
Yeah. And they do that slapstick really well when it comes to think of it.
Let's just go quickly through the plot to the end, because this is what bothered me a bit. Number 7 was exactly the same as number 4. Don't shoot me just yet. Let me explain myself.
Okay. Excuse John
here. Look, what I mean by that is we have the introduction of the characters, finding themselves and connecting the dots. We then have that moment when they decide to take on the mission or not, which is in number 4. We have Luke's parents dying in the fire, so uncle and auntie dying in the fire, and then him leaving their village to meet up with Ben and fly on the Millennium Falcon. Same thing here. We had the girl being dropped off by the parents, also on a very planet looks like what was the planet? Tatooine. So we have that. Then we have the stormtrooper coming in. We get the Millennium Falcon. They go on a mission. Han Solo and Chewie pop up, and then they take them, smuggle them through. And then we get to the next bit where they decide, are they going to go through with it or they're not? That moment, the lightsaber gets found and things like that. And then I think not much really happens. We just get to know that it's a big planet now this time that gets destroyed, which is like Han Solo said.
Bigger than Death Star.
That's right. Like Han Solo said, it's the same as Death Star, just bigger. Why don't we just blow it up? And
I know it has a weak spot. Let's find it and destroy it.
And weren't they lucky that our stormtrooper that was a cleaner, a toilet cleaner, a sanitary guy?
Yeah.
So they found where to blow it up, and all they had to do was blow it up. And again, that same scene when they're flying through that gap and dodging those turrets, shooting them to go inside and blow everything up was the exact same thing that happened in 4 and 5, I think, when they blew up the Death Star.
Death Star, yeah.
And it blew up and everything just, it was just exactly the same, and the planning and obviously the characters were all the same. I'm not saying it's bad, but it was just really the same. I guess if we were giving it, an out of 10, I think that's a point less because of that fact that it was the same thing again.
Yeah, look, they kept it simple, I suppose. They had the light side, they had the dark side. They got the politician side out of the Star Wars. They moved that to the side where we had a lot more of that in 1, 2, and 3. I think that's what was good about the new Star Wars movie, is that they just kept it simple. They realized what made the first trilogy good, and they thought they would switch some things around and really stay close to the chemistry, what worked. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right. And look, we're going to come back after the break. It's time for the thin grey line.
Concept of social control, a concept that our occupation is very much a part of, has been around since the formation of organized sociology. The meaning has been altered over time. It evolves like our so-called human race. Yeah, however, in the 1930s, the term took on its more modern meaning of an individual's conversion to conformity. To think that our belief system exerts a greater sense of control on the human behavior than the laws imposed by the government. No matter what forms the beliefs take. Makes sense why there's so many psychopaths out there justifying their own behaviors. Their unification only enforces and nurtures their behaviors like a rotting cesspool vortex, pulling in more prey. We attempt to control everything, no matter how big or small, failing to realize we are under an illusion this whole time. For we are not even in control of our own lives. Hell, me and my partner are at war trying to control each other every single day, and for what purpose? It's futile, knowing that total control only leads to total predictability. And predictability breeds boredom. So let me ask you this. Why do we need a sense of control? Ultimately, being able to predict what will happen. A sense of certainty. Our lives are filled with so many random variables that disrupt us. For accidents shatter our sense of control. I ultimately believe that control, like everything else in life, requires moderation. I'd have to agree. Too little and you give birth to chaos. Too much to the point of suppressing human instinct, most notably hunger, and you have yourself a revolution. One way or another, an imbalance of control promotes violence. Violence that makes our profession viable.
Welcome back. That was definitely a spectacular episode of The Thin Green Line. What do you think, Steve?
Absolutely, I just can't wait till the next episode comes out.
I don't know what's going to happen. Do you?
Neither do I.
I hope something violent happens. Or maybe somebody dies. You know how it is in those detective shows.
I just hope it's none of the main characters, otherwise...
No, we can't have that, can we?
No, we cannot. Otherwise, it'll be quite boring.
Now look, what we're going to go through now is a bit of chat about the effects that were used, maybe even some of the items like the ships, memorable fight scenes, and some Easter eggs.
Yeah, what I noticed about this new movie, the music, it just didn't feel memorable. I got out of that movie, you know, in comparison to episode 1 or, you know, the old trilogy, there was unique music that I was able to hum when I'm walking out of the cinema. But in this latest installment, it was very subtle. I think what I sort of, and you're right, completely right, because what I got out of it when I was watching the 4, 5, and 6, in one of them, they're a bit of a blur for me. There are literally 6 hours of my life in one, so I see them as the name 4, 5, and 6. What I remember is when Darth Vader is rolling in on his ship, and it's that dun dun dun, and you've got all the stormtroopers lined up, and it's a very peculiar scene, but every time that music plays, you know the scene. You know exactly where it's from, and this time around... Yeah, this time around, it's not there.
It's not there, there's no memorable music
If
scene.
you ask me to hum a music scene, I can't do it. I know it was probably dark and moody, but I just can't tell you what it was.
Let us know in the comments below. Is there a scene from the movie that you can think of the music and the scene at the same time?
Or are we just deaf?
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the effects. Oh, don't get me wrong, the sound effects were fantastic. I love the sound of the blasters. They were real. They weren't that pew pew pew. It was like pew. You know, they had a bit of thump to it, and I think
got the pew pews right in this movie for sure.
I think so. Yeah. So I guess you know that music though. You're right. It bothers me a bit more than it should, I suppose.
Yeah, and I mean, what was great though was the effects. You know, they really toned down the CGI from the first trilogy, and they had more realistic sets from, you know, the second set of the trilogies, 4, 5, and 6. So they had a bit of a hybrid going on there with the great CGI and the great sets, which made you really appreciate the sense of realism that they were trying to put across in the latest installment. So I thought that was done really well.
I think props have to go to J.J. Abrams for his vision of this film. I think as soon as he signed on to do the movies, we all knew that this was going to be a huge hit. He's done, you know, Star Trek, the Fringe TV shows, for example. They've just been brilliant filmed scenes of and effects, and those effects were never faked, you know.
Coming up in this week's newscast, experts and politicians debate over new anti-terror laws.
FIFO workers face higher suicide rates as the mining boom ends.
And on Western Perspective, the involvement of young people in boosting WA's Innovation Dream Factory.
We'll see you soon.
I would like to discuss the most important scene to me, personally, in the movie is the death scene. The big death scene.
The death of Han Solo. It's sad he died because first of all, he's Harrison Ford. Second of all, he's Harrison Ford. Third of all, he's also Indiana Jones, but he's also Harrison Ford in that too.
He's also Harrison Ford.
And, you know, we have prepared a moment of silence for Harrison Ford. No, I mean, sorry, Indiana Jones. No, I mean, Han Solo.
Yes.
Please take a minute with us and experience Mr. Han Solo, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones. Thank you for that. That
Highly emotional stuff.
brought tears up to my eyes. Thank you, Gary Garrison, our cameraman, who put that together for us. Now look, his death was absolutely devastating to a lot of fans. I believe I've seen a lot of things on the internet, I suppose, for why he shouldn't have died. But you know what I think? I think that is the only thing and the only reason there will be number 8 and 9. If Han Solo didn't die, or at least a major character didn't die, there'd be no point in having an 8 or a 9. I don't know if you share that thought with me, Steve.
Well, yeah, the thing about that particular death scene is you felt like it could have gone either way. I mean, the emotional scene between Kylo Ren, aka Ben, and Han Solo when they're standing on that bridge, you know, you just feel like, will one convert the other? You know, it was definitely that power struggle between the father and son.
And you know, even though they're new actors, that scene from that actor was magnificent. Okay, he may not be my partner. She said that wasn't the most attractive person she's seen, and that's obviously her opinion. But you know, he was great. That scene alone solidified him as that evil guy. And I'm not, you know, thinking about that fight after the fact, because again, he was just like a scared little child trying to fight his way out. But that scene, when he stabbed Han with the lightsaber, was just magnificent.
It was
out of just a cinematic point of view and acting, it was great. Because at one point, you sort of thought that he might turn him, because he said, "Oh, Dad, I need one way of getting out." But you know, while I was watching that, I was like, "Hang on, is it actually gonna happen? Is he gonna turn around and be like, I'm gonna help you blow this shit up?" And then maybe he was gonna sacrifice himself. That's what I thought. I had that thought. I thought he was gonna kill himself.
Huh.
But he killed Han.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
He killed the most memorable sci-fi character of all time.
Finally bringing the saga of Han Solo to an end.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some memorable fight scenes within the movie. Obviously, the biggest one being the end fight scene between Kylo Ren and Rey, where she manages to obviously
use the Force,
awaken the Force within her. Hence the title of the movie.
Dude, I just understood why it's called The Force Awakens.
Mind blown.
Oh, jeez,
Didn't you know that?
I shouldn't be doing this show. I did not click. I didn't click. I guess I was too invested in the character to really think about the reasoning behind the name. Nobody really cares about the name of the movie.
Yeah.
But thank you for bringing that up. That is, for those following at home, if you've missed it like me, don't worry about it. It's
Mind
okay.
explosion.
Go on, Steve.
Yeah.
Please tell me more.
Yeah, look, well, I think that's a great... The way that the director has set up this scene is wonderful in a few ways. That being that, we get to see that force rise up in a character such as Rey, and how she just overpowers, Kylo Ren, and she just taunts him throughout the movie as well, stating that he is nowhere near as powerful and as Darth Vader, and we do, that finale just brings that out even more so, how she overpowers him. And I love especially the part where, the land parts between the two, showcasing that there will be another
fight.
Another
That was
spectacle.
interesting. Since out of just watching how they split that, I was thinking, how are they gonna, pull them apart? Is a ship gonna drive in and grab them and, sort of split them apart? But no, that ground split, I think, was both meaningful, like you said, Steve, and both cinematically, the easiest way to separate two characters. I'm being really simplistic here, but what's an easy way to separate two characters from not being able to put a chasm in between them? That's really what it was. So, Steve, I guess what else do we have? We're getting to that end fight scene.
So the conclusion of it all is, that the Supreme Leader Snoke, he states to General Hux that, we need to get Kylo Ren, and we need to complete his final training, which is obviously going to be a follow-up to the 8th and 9th movie, where we can expect another major battle between,
because now
characters.
Rey has gone to learn from Luke.
Absolutely.
But I have to point it out, they hurt, Chewie shot Ben or Ren in the stomach, and that is the only reason she was able to beat him, because they didn't want to show the fact that she was suddenly already more powerful than him. He was already hurt. He was already handicapped.
Yeah.
That's right. So there's always, she's still the underdog in that sense, because as shown before in all the other scenes, he was able to overpower them pretty quickly without. Now Finn hasn't woken up in that last scene.
No, he hasn't.
Leia found out that Han is dead, and I personally I thought there was little to no emotion from her. I thought they would have shown a bit her sadness, but they didn't. There was this good old C-3PO coming along going, excuse me. So I didn't actually like that, so I thought maybe they should have shown her just sort of a bit more, but maybe the actress couldn't pull that off, but she obviously had to be there.
I guess what we can take from that is, the interaction that we had between Leia and Han Solo before that was, they have gone through a lot, obviously, through their time together, and from everything that happened between the light side, the dark side, the Jedi, the Sith, and they have come to a point where, they're so emotionless even towards themselves in a way, and that brings forth that consistency of the character to the end. You can tell she was distraught on the inside, but she didn't want to show it, because after all, she is the general of the rebellion force.
But I hope they would have shown a bit of humanity from her side, because she's always played that strong part, and especially when they call her general and things like that. And I think they should have shown a bit of humanity, a bit of sadness towards what happened.
So kudos to J.J. Abrams. I personally think you did a decent job with that, and
if you're watching,
so as if you're watching, click like and subscribe. But seriously, I think majority of the reviewers would agree that this was definitely a fantastic send-off to the initial trilogy, the next line of trilogies in the Star Wars movies, and I'm looking forward to 8 and 9 in hopes that there's going to be consistency of quality. So, yeah.
I guess let me
That's the
show
thing.
you something that my father, who lived through his teenage years watching 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and he saw 7 also. And his comment was actually, this is very interesting. This is coming from somebody who grew up watching those old ones and being a big sci-fi fan. He said he expected a bit more visual candy. In that sense, well, a bit more special effects and not looking so old.
Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle, yeah, and you know, us going, oh, we'd love the classics, you know, that retro style of Star Wars that 4, 5, and 6 had, and they continued that, and it was brilliant, you know, the way they designed it and the way it was filmed, and you know, and he just said, oh, maybe the new Star Trek is going to be better, and I thought, wait, hang on, what? The effects. You know, let us know in the comments if what made you feel that you know you didn't like it, or if you did like it, tell us why. Personally, I enjoyed the movie I had a smile on my face from start to finish. Maybe not in the start because it was just weird, but you know, as soon as things started exploding, lasers started coming out, I was just absolutely loving it. Okay, so let's finish it off, and on the show, The State of the BeanStalk, we have a numbering and scoring system for movies. It is out of 10 beans. Now, Steve, please let me know how much you score Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 beans, John Johnson.
Look, I am gonna give it 9 out of 10 beans.
Fantastic. Now, I'd like to know from the public in the comments below, if you just want to let us know, you know, amongst all the other things that we asked you to let us know, give us a rating. Did you love it? Did you hate it?
Yeah, let us know what you thought about the movie, because, you know, us saying it really means nothing in the whole scheme of things, because, you know, it takes a majority to really change anything at all. Now, if you like this video, give it a like. If you don't like it, dislike it, because there's 2 buttons apparently for that stuff.
Just like there are the 2
subscribe
sides,
to
yeah.
a monthly episode of The State of the BeanStalk. We're always going to bring you the biggest news, the biggest movies, biggest TV shows. This episode was a special episode because of Star Wars, and maybe in 2017 you'll see another big long episode like this. But hopefully we'll see you next month. Yes, it is a month because there's a lot of things to put together. And yeah, from us and the team, Gary Garrison, Steve Stevenson,
John Johnson.
you're Steve Stevenson.
And you're
I'm
John Johnson.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
We'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Mine changed colour. I don't know how yours is still the same.
I think you're just converted to the dark side.
Dark side, light side. Here we go.
Yeah.
And we're off. Welcome back, and thank you, Ivan Ivanovsky, for that lovely message. I'm definitely looking forward to using the new iBanana.
Yeah, I don't know about you, John Johnson, but I just can't wait to get my hands on that product. Alright, let's reshuffle the videos.
Thanks, Ivan. I am definitely looking forward to using the new device, the iBanana.
Yes, of course. I don't know about you, John Johnson, but I just can't wait to get my hands on that.
Thanks, Ivan, and I'm definitely looking forward to using that new iBanana. It's definitely familiar.
Absolutely, John Johnson, and I don't know about you, but I can't wait to get my hands on it. Do I just need to just not do that?
I'm gonna be really serious about that.
Also, the Death Star gets destroyed in episode 6. You mentioned 4 and 5.
No, there's 2 Death Stars that get destroyed.
There's 2 Death Stars?
Yeah. There's 2 Death Stars, mate.
Get out.
Yeah, 4 and 5. They destroyed the Death Star in the 5th one. No,
You mean they destroy like a big ship?
No, Death Star.
Why did they destroy
Because
2
number
Death
6
Stars?
had the number 6 Death Star is barely being built, remember?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, come on, the first episode has the Death Star destroying Leia's home.
Don't quote me on it.
And it's that scene when you walk through the thing and everybody gets shot. We'd like to thank Gary Garrison, the cameraman. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Gary. You always do a great job. Keep
Gary,
steady hand. You could be a surgeon if you wanted to.
Gary, can you also please clean my car